Chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam yena bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaisnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Sivisakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Visavana Sutadevi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatirubhyecha Kripasindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaisnavebhyo Namo Namah Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I wanted to speak on the topic Mahajana Ena gatha Sapantha, or to follow the path of the Mahajans, the great souls. That line comes from a verse, and a verse from Mahabharata. Tarka pratista shrutya vibhina nasavarisya mata Matevanam Nabinam Dhamasya Tattvam Nitam Guhayam Mahajana Ena gatha Sapantha. Good. So it is explaining that many are studying the scriptures, and based on these scriptures, through logic and understanding, they establish different conclusions. And so many conclusions are established. It said, but through these means, it is not possible to actually understand the meaning of the scriptures. Because Dharmasya Tattvam Nihitam Guhayam, the truth remains hidden within the hearts of the pure devotees. Mahajana Ena gatha Sapantha. Therefore one must follow in the footsteps of the Mahajans. The verse is from the Mahabharata and spoken by Yudhisthira Maharaj. So Yudhisthira is pointing out 5,000 years ago that there are so many opinions. There are every Muni has to establish his own opinion, his own commentary, and disagree with others. So he sketches a Vedic culture for us. And so I felt to explore this a little bit, and I sort of hinted a little bit earlier on in my initiation lecture that we don't know actually what is real, what is bona fide and what is not bona fide. And we have to understand that many of the things, especially those who come from an Indian background, that many of the things we learned from our tradition are wrong. Okay? A simple story illustrates that. That is, once there was a lady who was organizing the marriage of her daughter, and so many arrangements were made, and very nice arrangements and everything. It was all last-minute inspection, the tension, because a million things to arrange, so still the last minute finishing up, and then the guests were already arriving. Suddenly in the middle of the whole ceremony, there was a black cat. My God, a black cat. So, it was too late to do anything about it. What she did, she grabbed an empty basket and just threw it over that cat. And somehow or other, the whole ceremony took place without the cat causing any disturbance. 30 years later, it was the turn of the daughter now to organize the marriage for her daughter. And she made all the arrangement, everything very nice. And then last minute, she looked around, going with the checklist, do we have everything? And then suddenly said, oh no, there's one thing missing, we need a black cat. Yes. And somehow or other they got a black cat, put it under the basket. So nowadays, even still in every Indian marriage, there has to be a black cat under a basket. Otherwise the marriage is not complete. Yes. So like this, there are so many black cats in what we practice, in what we believe, in what we learned. And as being very important, then there are rituals that are in the lower modes of nature. Like in some parts of the world, they walk over the fire for 8 meters of fire walks and all these things. And apparently they go in some trance and they don't feel anything. I wouldn't try it myself, but such things are not recommended, or in some worship. Hooks are put in the flesh and to pull something. And these things are actually in the mode of ignorance. So that is not recommended at all. Those things in fact are condemned. So it is difficult to understand what is bona fide, what is not bona fide. In Gujarat there is a temple dedicated to rats. Okay? You may have seen, some of you may be aware of it. It's like, I don't know how many rats, but the whole temple is filled with rats, and they're feeding them because Ganesh, his vehicle is a rat, so they worship the rat. So it is difficult to understand what is bona fide and what is not bona fide. Therefore, Mahajana Ena gatha Sapantha. And I wanted to kind of take it back. Another verse. The verse I want to read now, I first have to find the verse for you. The verse is Swayambhu Narada Shambhu Kumaru Kapilo Manu Pralalu Janako Bhismo Baliya Vayasiki Vayam. It is describing the 12 Mahajans, and I wanted to read it is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, and I wanted to read that to you, plus the purport. Swayambhu Narada Shambhu Kumara Kapilo Manu Pralado Janako Vispam Palir Vayasaki Vayam Dwada Saite Vijanimo Dharmam Bhagavatam Pata Guyam Visudam Durvadam Yam Gyatvam Vitam Asnute. So, Lord Brahma, Bhagavan Narada, Lord Shiva, the four Kumaras. Oh, Bacha, must be quiet or outside. Either quiet or outside. What can I do? Because if he talks, I cannot think. It's very hard to. Because speaking is not just like being a tape recorder, but it's like a meditation. If they are too loud, then no more meditation. Lord Brahma, Bhagavan Narada, Lord Shiva, the four Kumaras, Lord Kapila, the son of Devahuti, Swayambhuva Manu, Prahlad Maharaj, Janak Maharaj, Grandfather Bhishma, Bali Maharaj, Sukadev Goswami, and I myself know the real religious principle. My dear servants, this transcendental religious principle, which is known as Bhagavad Dharma, or surrender unto the Supreme Lord, and love for Him, is uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. It is very confidential and difficult for ordinary human beings to understand, but if by chance one fortunately understands it, he is immediately liberated, and thus he returns home back to God. So Srila Prabhupada in his purport. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna refers to Bhagavad Dharma as the most confidential religious principle. Sarva guyatamam guyat guyatanam. Krishna says to Arjuna, because you're my very dear friend, I'm explaining to you the most confidential religion. Sarvadhanam parichaya mamikam saranam vraja. Bhagavad Gita 1866. Give up all other duties and surrender unto me. The child keeps on making noise, and I'm so sorry, but it will have to go. Yeah. Then, yeah. Well, then I'll be quiet. तो नहीं चलता है, मतलब तो बच्चे तो आवाज करता है तो मेरे लिए तो कोई कथा नहीं आएंगे, क्योंकि मान तो नहीं चलेंगे तो क्या हो जाएंगे. It's always painful, but it is inevitable. Prabhupada also did it. So please, when the children make noise, take them outside. I'm so sorry. Give up all other duties and surrender unto me. One may ask, if this principle is very rarely understood, what is the use of it? In answer, Yamaraj states here that this religious principle is understandable if one follows the parampara system of Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the four Kumaras, and the other standard authorities. There are 4 lines of disciplic succession, one from Lord Brahma, one from Lord Shiva, one from Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, and one from the Kumaras. The disciplic succession from Lord Brahma is called the Brahma Sampradaya. Who is the child?
Whose child is that?
You cannot stay there.
I think we should have some respect for what Maharaj is saying so many times, I think.
What to do? I'm sorry, but if she doesn't want to be, if they don't want to be quiet, put one mother outside with the kids and, and take turns. Otherwise they can't speak. I'll start again. So the point that is being made here, that there are genuine authorities. And Srimad Bhagavatam is identifying these authorities. So whatever comes from these authorities that we can trust, when Narada is speaking, then we know it's all right and is bona fide. When Lord Shiva is an authority, Lord Brahma is an authority, Kapila is an authority, the Kumaras are an authority, Prahlad is an authority. And all these authorities are of course pointing towards Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it is important that we are relying on our authorities. Otherwise we start to think that we are relying on ISKCON. Then we might make a mistake and we might think that this is the opinion of ISKCON. Right? And it's like, it was Prabhupada's idea, he taught it like that, and then, well, he taught it in one way, and then the disciples took it, and maybe it changed also a little bit, and now are we getting it like this? No. Rather, it's Narada, it is Lord Shiva who is speaking. It is the four Kumaras who are speaking. It is Kapila who is speaking. It is Bhishmadev who is speaking. Prahlad Maharaj who is speaking. Janak Maharaj who is speaking. Bali Maharaj who is speaking. Swayambhuva Manu who is speaking. Lord Brahma who is speaking. So those are obvious authorities. See, no Brahmana can argue with Brahma, because he's the original Brahmana, actually. It is like, in India, of course, the Brahmanas are the authorities in society. But the Brahmanas derive their authority from their gotra, isn't it? Immediately we ask, someone is a Brahmana, all right, what is your gotra? Okay. And then they'll tell you this gotra, Gautam, or, Gautam Muni, Parasar. Like that, different gotras may be there, fine. But all these gotras are simply the sons of Brahma, the mental sons of Brahma, who received, all these munis received their qualification from Brahma, and therefore Brahmanas, those who are following the standard of Brahma. So the authority of Brahma is very important, actually. So in our Sampradaya, Brahma is the second personality, is the first one after Krishna. In our Sampradaya, we are the Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. We are worshipping Lord Brahma. He is our authority. So our authority for claiming that Krishna is the Supreme Lord is Lord Brahma. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling in South India, and he came upon this Adi Keshav Mandir, a temple. And there he found, besides a wonderful deity, a group of brahmanas who were engaged in a discussion on the basis of scripture. And in that discussion, they were discussing conclusions that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu relished very much. And when he inquired, it turned out that it was the 5th chapter of the Brahma Samhita. And even at that time, 500 years ago, the Brahma Samhita was no longer known or available. Some learned scholars knew of the Brahma Samhita. They knew about it. But they did not actually have a copy of the manuscript. And it is like that with Vedic literatures, that many ancient Vedic literatures are lost. Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in his book, the Krishna Samhita, that is in his time, in 1870, that only 6% of the Vedic literature was still available. Only 6%, very low, and the rest all lost. So we can see how much Vedic authority has gradually disintegrated. Anyway, the Brahma Samhita is our specific connection with Lord Brahma, right? A very important connection. So the Brahma Samhita is not just a nice samhita, some nice verses that we chant on special festivals, maybe at the time of an abhishek or if you have more time during yajna. This morning it was very fast yajna. Sometimes yajnas take long time. Anyway, so Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took this 5th chapter of the Brahma Samhita and then he brought it to Ramananda Roy. He gave it to him as a gift, and there were other devotees present and they all copied it, and then others made copies and copies and copies, and in no time it spread all over India and became actually quite famous because people knew that this is authorized scripture, and it was discovered again. So in this way the Brahma Samhita is very important for our authority. And of course the Brahma Samhita is establishing Isvara Parama Krishna Satsidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes. He has no other origin. That is very important to understand, that he has no other origin than himself. He is the original, the Adi Purush, the original Supreme Lord. Well, there are so many arguments about that, you see. Right there with that first verse, you may get into an argument in India with so many who say, no, you're Krishna. He is only the 7th incarnation of Vishnu. Yes, he's a Vishnu. He's one of the Dasavatars. Some are arguing Krishna and Balaram appeared from a white and a black hair of Narayan. Jiva Goswami, in his Krishna Sandarbha, argues the point, and apparently got that from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because it is mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu established this point, and that he set straight the misconceptions about this point that Krishna and Balaram are supposed to have appeared from a black and a white hair. Jiva Goswami then gives that explanation in the Krishna Sandarbha. And he explains, the first thing he says, how is this possible? How is this possible? Are you saying that Narayan is getting old? Huh? You are saying that he has grey hairs. This Narayan is ever fresh. He has no grey hairs. He has no white hair. Right? Narayan's hair is described as blackish blue. And it is always blackish blue because he's not affected by time. Therefore no old age, no white hair. Therefore this whole thing is bogus. Wrong. Refuted. Next. Jiva Goswami, in this way, is giving us the defense for the Vaishnava position. So, as I said, with this verse, Swayambhu Narada Shambhu, giving the Dvadas Mahajan, the 12 Mahajans, or the 12 authorities. Prabhupada translates the word Mahajan with authorities, whatever they say. They are our authorities. And everyone, simply, we take shelter of these authorities. So this movement is very authorized. That is the point. It's not a movement that is a new movement. Of course, there are people coming from other cultures into the movement, and they may bring something also from these other cultures. Even here, like many of you are from India, some of you are from Indian origin outside of India, like I know from some. Mauritius, I know. Anyway, she's also from Mauritius. I got a few from Mauritius. We got someone from Zimbabwe. And maybe others also. Many are from India directly. But some from Malaysia, and and then the older generation still speak Indian language. The younger generation, they can understand, but they can't speak, and things like this, right? So, it is like that. And of course, some culture also disappears. Like in South Africa, they perform the Peter Pak. They call it Peter Pak, right? Peter Pak. If you actually Peter Pak, what is that Peter Pak? Who is he? Have you ever met Peter Pak? Right? Who is that? Actually, it is Pitri Paksha. Pitri Paksha. That's what we're talking about. Yeah. Pitri Paksha has become Peter Pak. Nice to meet you, Mr. Peter Pak. Yeah, and they're doing Peter Pak. And Peter Pak is when you offer to the forefathers. So, your grandfather, he used to drink whiskey. So on Peter Pak, you give him his favorite whiskey, You put a glass with his whiskey in front of the picture, or the cigars he used to like, you put a box, Peter Pak. Right? So it's all mixed up, right? They've lost the knowledge of Pitri Paksha, but something external is going on. It's definitely a black cat under a basket, maybe a tiger. Right? So like this, so much speculation came in. It came in like anything. Well, in India, also very interesting, we have different brahmanas, we have Trivedis, we have Chaturvedis, right? We have Smartas, right? So we can research this a little bit, yes? So there are brahmanas, they are Trivedis, they are expert in Trivedas, right? Which ones? Can speculate, but we don't really know, right? There are others, the Smartas. What are the Smartas? Smarta Brahmanas, what are they? Yeah. So they are following the Dharma Shastra in particular. Because their point was that the Dharma Shastra contains the essence of the four Vedas and gives practical guidelines for everyday life. Whereas the four Vedas, they may give certain rituals, but not all the rituals that deal with all life. So the Smartas have different communities, right? There was a group of Smartas who developed in Kashmir, and the Kashmiri Smartas, they were very learned, and a group of them settled actually in the south. We still have records which families they were and how the families expanded. I have it on this computer, I will not get into the detail now. But several families became Smartas, yes. And these Smartas, yes, they were particularly concerned with, he said, Manusamhita, then with which portion of the Vedas? There are 3 sessions of the Vedas. There is the Upasana Kanda, the Jnana Kanda, and the Karma Kanda. So where does this Manusamhita belong? Karma Kanda, yeah. So Karma Kanda means there are rituals that govern material aspects of life to get auspiciousness. So these Dharma Shastras give us all the sanskaras, the Dasavida sanskar. It gives us the various sanskaras that are being performed. Well, we like the sanskaras. Yes. It gives us elements of governing marriage, governing conception of children, governing various aspects of life, but all life in this world and blessings for this world. So we say there are two paths in the Vedas, the Pravritti Marg and the Nivritti Marg. Pravritti Marg is the path that gives you a better material condition. So a lot of Vedic culture is involved with the Pravritti Marg, with doing ritual to get a better material condition of life. Even in Bhagavatam we find a reference to Maharaj Pariksit, and that Maharaj Pariksit was asking questions to Sukadev Goswami. And it is said that why was he asking many questions to Sukadev Goswami? He was asking questions even about matters that he already should have known. Like, for example, the creation. And I mean, Maharaj Pariksit was, after all, from a royal family. And they have an education. And so naturally, he knew about the creation. You know, if you're half educated, you would know something about the creation. So a king certainly had that education. So he knew, why was he asking this? Prabhupada says for the sake of strictness, just to make sure he had no misunderstanding. And then Prabhupada also explains that actually Maharaj Pariksit, in the cause of being the emperor, was caught in a lot of social convention. And therefore, he had to perform also many karmakanda rituals. Although he himself had no interest in these things, it was social convention. So there you go, 5,000 years ago, that was all social convention at the time of Maharaj Pariksit. And in Bhagavatam we find it is condemned. And it said, Maharaj Pariksit was not really interested in that because his interest was Krishna. After all, he was in the womb when Aswatam, he was in the womb of Uttara when Aswatam sent that Brahmastra, and he actually became burned by that Brahmastra. But the Lord came into the womb, gave him a new body, and at that time he got the darshan of the Lord, and then for the rest of his life, Maharaj Pariksit was always testing everyone. Pariksha is test. And he was testing, is this the one I saw? No. Is this the one I saw? No. This one? No. This one? No. No. This one? No. He didn't have glasses. That one? No, he was a little more, not as round. That one? No, he didn't have grey hair. Like this. No. No one matched the person that Maharaj Pariksit had seen in the womb. So Maharaj Pariksit was a pure devotee all throughout, looking for Krishna. So it is described. But it is interesting that he was also caught up in social convention, and that there were many things going on which actually were not for a pure devotee. So you can see what I'm trying to do, what I thought of doing with this seminar is look at our roots, right? Look at the roots of our movement, and look at the roots of our own beliefs, our own practices, and so on. So, yes, the Smarta Brahmanas, right, were generally engaging in karmakanda ritual. So naturally, these Brahmanas then also had an interest in having a nice and peaceful life. Therefore, a particular community of the Smartas, they became Shaktas. They began to worship Durga Devi as their main deity. Because their interest was that, to have peaceful material conditions. See, when we worship Durga, then basically what we are doing, we try to pacify material nature. Shakta worship is about pacifying material nature. Then, the worship of Kali is even going a step further, because that deals with the ghastly feature of Durga. All that, the skulls and the weapons. Intense. So the ghastly feature of Durga, then we are trying to pacify material nature. So we hope no evil will come upon us. We hope nothing will happen. So let's pacify Kalima and make an offering. Yes. Everything shanti, shanti. Yes, because the material energy can be very, very harsh. Right? So, but we see that then came in the idea that, then tantric. I forgot one thing. The Smartas, this particular family that was engaged in Durga worship, actually began in South India. But they were invited to settle in Bengal by the kings of Bengal. And therefore, in Bengal, the Brahmana community was all belonging to the Smarta community, practically speaking. And there was a lot of Shatta worship going on, Kali worship and so on. And of course, also what entered was some Tantra. Tantra is also very ritualistic. Yeah? But that brought in the non-vegetarian element, where on the puja plate one may see that there are nice flowers, and there is a little wine, and there is some flesh on the puja plate, then some grains, like that, 5 items, 5th I can't remember. Anyway, so like that, we can see how a degraded type of worship came about. Right? And that kind of worship aimed at pacifying the Durga Devi it's not bona fide the way it's done, because these tantric elements are having their roots in Buddhism actually, and coming from outside Vedic culture, and not at all have roots in Vedic culture, but they mixed. And gradually we see how society, Vedic society, became degraded. And that we have to understand that it's not just now that this started, right? It's not just that now, for example, nowadays, of course, in India, drinking has become more accepted compared to what it was. There was a time that it would be sold from a little, like a ticket window with bars, right? And sell, and they make the people sign some ledger, and they get small bottle, this big. That's it, and it's written down. They have to give ID, and they write down who is taking this. Yes. So they would control it. But then, of course, there were backroom bars, right? Plenty. And now they're not so backroom anymore. Now they come more to the front. Yeah, very, very much so. And of course, now you see even people from good families, when they go back to India from abroad, they carry all the bottles that they bought in the tax-free. That is very common. And chalega, koi baat nahi. Yes, and on the plane, yes, then it's free, you know. You don't have to pay for it, so, take as much as you can, right? After all, in India, if you can get anything for free, yes, take, yes, I'll take. So then they really take, huh? Yeah. So these things are, of course, going on now. So we see some degradation that's set in, and we may think that it is due to the modern times that the degradation set in, like I mentioned earlier, all the brahmanas have become computer programmers and they know the computer and the IT manuals they know, but what do they know of Shastra? Right? Yeah. What slokas can they quote? Don't know anything, you know. So what shall we do? Gradually we see that now degradation is set in very much, and things are changing very rapidly. I saw that in 2006, that's the last statistics I saw, that 32% of India was vegetarian. It was published in Times of India, I have it. And yeah, that is not so high, that number, you know. Like in the early 70s, when I first came to India, every railway station had 2 canteens, veg, non-veg, with separate kitchens. They were very strict about that. Yeah? There's no mixing of the kitchens. Later it became one kitchen, and then one side was veg, other side was non-veg. 2 doors, but the same kitchen. Yeah? So that's. But in like 1970, it was still separated. Now you go on the Rajdhani and you can go and look in the pantry. You see all the chickens lying in the pantry. So, of course, you can take some of the bread, since it's for free, if you want to. It's free. But we will not take it. You take, koi baat nahi. So yeah, this is all degradation. So degradation is of course there, and then, you know, Bollywood is advertising it, Dada, right, is oftentimes in Hindi movies, many times the hero is a gangster. It's interesting, right? Many times some sort of gangster is the hero. It's like interesting. But he is still faithful to his mother. That part is it. Ma. Big thing. Yeah, what to do. Anyway, so it's interesting that we are exploring the roots. Now, you know, there are some in this seminar who are not from Indian background, but the seminar is just as relevant to them as for those who are from Indian background, because we have to understand a little bit how we fit into Vedic culture. Where are we coming from? And of course, the Hare Krishna movement started in the Western world, and Prabhupada tried to train his Western disciples and teach them as much as possible from 1966 to 1977. And obviously there was more to learn than they learned in that time. There's no doubt about it. But Prabhupada clearly made sure that he gave the essence, the most essential principles. But there were elements of culture that had not yet been absorbed. And maybe some more elements have been absorbed since. Right? As devotees are getting more mature, are learning more things, and more culture comes. Absolutely. And of course, from India, we get a lot of culture. But Siddhanta, it's like Siddhanta we have very clearly in the Hare Krishna movement. Culture, sometimes we don't know, right? We don't know. Yeah. India is so rich in tradition and culture. But gradually it's coming. So everyone has a contribution to make. We are all coming from different parts of the world or different parts of India. Everyone has a contribution to make. One time I was in South Africa, and there was a sannyasi from the Gaudiya Math who was visiting an Indian sannyasi, senior sannyasi. They asked me to take care of him. So, okay, we were walking and talking, and he was saying that, he said, to preach in the West is very difficult, very, very difficult. Almost impossible, he said. So, okay, what to do? It didn't touch my heart, didn't endear him to my heart. Yeah. But anyway, he said that, and then he carried on like this. He said, yeah, the problem is people are not following rules and regulations. Yes. Then, I said, well, okay. No, there's truth in that, that it may be difficult. Of course, not that in India it's always so easy. People are good in acting as if they're following the rules and regulations. And when no one watches, then it's another thing. But yes, so I said, well, there's truth in that. I said, after all, the people from India, they are trained in the culture and they know so many things, undoubtedly. I said, but look at these people from Africa. I said, we are here in Ratiyatra, and you can see these people from Africa that as soon as the kirtan began, they just became absorbed. And look at them now, right? And the African devotees were oblivious to the world. The world didn't exist anymore. There's only kirtan, nothing else, you know what I mean? That's Africa. When there's a kirtan, there's only kirtan, and everybody is just into it, completely into it, wholeheartedly, 100%. And I said, look at the absorption they have in kirtan. I said, in that respect, I think they're lifetimes ahead of us, I told him. Yeah. So we have to see the credits that are everywhere, and that there are contributions to make everywhere. So this movement is like that. But at the same time, we have to understand the roots of our movement, and that Narada is our authority, no one else. Prabhupada didn't invent anything, nothing. Nothing was Prabhupada's idea. In terms of the teachings. Everything faithfully delivered from the previous Acharyas. Everything. So then, an interesting development is, of course, the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because how is this movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu developing in the middle of the traditional Vedic culture? And we're seeing that the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going to pure bhakti and connects everywhere with the tradition where that bhakti is found, like it is found in Nanda or in Kapila, to Devahuti. These instructions are all on pure devotional service and very deep on pure bhakti. You see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu takes as authority Srimad Bhagavatam, completely. Srimad Bhagavatam is considered the topmost authority. So like, yeah, okay, that's nice, but why only the Bhagavatam? Sometimes it seems that ISKCON gives too much importance to the Bhagavatam. What about the other Puranas? What about Vishnu Purana and Padma Purana? Vishnu Purana is very important. In South, everybody knows Vishnu Purana is very important. Yes. If you don't follow Vishnu Purana, then it's not correct. Everyone knows a very important Purana. Vishnu Purana. Yes. Isn't it? So, how come we are neglecting these things? Again, on the strength of Bhagavatam. But what is the authority of the Bhagavatam? That question may be raised about our tradition. And it is for that reason that Jiva Goswami, who was extremely learned, wrote his Tattva Sandarbha. And in the Tattva Sandarbha, what is he establishing? He is establishing the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam. He is establishing on the basis, first of all, there are those who are only following the Shruti. We know that Vedic literature consists of Shruti and Smriti. Shruti, that which is heard; Smriti, what is remembered. Shruti, referring to the four Vedas and the Upanishads, some Samhitas and so on. Basically that would be what is heard. Some are accepting only that. Then Smriti, referring to the itihasas such as Ramayana, Mahabharata and so on, and the Puranas, and also even the Manusmriti. That they will not accept. They will only... So they will see that Upanishad, literally if we translate it, Upanishad means to sit close by. Upanishad means to sit close by. So it means it's supposed to be very intimate knowledge, even more intimate than many of the verses of the Rik, Yayu, Sama and Atharva Vedas. So then we see that the Upanishads they accept. But Jiva Goswami is establishing, or Vaishnavas are claiming, let's say like that, Vaishnavas are claiming that no, this Mahabharata and this Srimad Bhagavat, it's the fifth Veda. Ramayana also, these scriptures are the fifth Veda. The Itihas, they are all bona fide, they are also Veda. Some are saying, no, this is not Veda. This is not Veda. Veda means Rik Veda, Yajurveda, Atharva Veda and Upanishads. They're part of the Vedas. But this Bhagavatam, it's not even Veda. So what you are following? Why you are following Bhagavat? Why? Why are you following Bhagavad Gita? On Janmashtami, I heard it. Paritranaya sadhina kenasya saduskrita dharma sampartanataya sambhavami yuge yuge. I heard you recite that verse. Why? You're taking Bhagavad Gita. They're saying this is not even Veda. No, others say it is Veda. Then Jiva Goswami says, so you are accepting Upanishads as Veda? Yes, yes. That means it's absolute. Oh yes. It is Apurusheya. Yes, it is Apurusheya. It does not come from man. It comes from God. It's divine. It's revealed. It comes from the breath of the Lord, of Vishnu. And then was revealed through the mouth of Brahma and came into this universe. That is Veda. Not from man. Transcendental, faultless, perfect. Then, what about your Gita? What about the Bhagavad? Upanishad you accept. You're accepting. Are you? I'm asking. Well, you are not talking, you're not accepting. Well, you are accepting. Yes. You're sure? Upanishad, 100% you accept. You're not arguing with Upanishads. You're sure? Yes. Good. Because in the Chandogya Upanishad, it is actually stated that the Itihasas, the Ramayana and the Puranas are the fifth Veda. And Jiva Goswami produced that evidence in the Tattva Sandarbha. So that's very important work he did for us. Because if anyone challenges us, then we can also give the answer. So therefore, part of our knowledge is that the Acharyas have established our authority. And we must know the authority of what we believe. We don't just believe because the Swami said so. No, he said it. Then it must be true. But he speaks only truth. No. No. Based on Shastra. The Vedas are described as Apurusheya, coming from the Supreme Lord. And in Chandogya Upanishad, which is one of the principal Upanishads, it is established. The fifth Veda is established. And the Puranas are part of that. Okay, good. So the Puranas are in. The Mahabharata is in. The Gita is Veda after all. Paditranaya sadhanam vinasya saduskritam dharma samsatpanataya sambhavami yuge yuge. Next Janmastami you can recite it and it is alright. Yes, it's Veda. You can say, and why is it Veda? Because it says so in Chandogya Upanishad. Nah. Like that. With authority, we can speak. So this is very important that we know, we should know our own authority. Otherwise, we think maybe one day after 10 years in the movement, we think actually, maybe Prabhupada on some ideas, he put a little bit too much emphasis on this, I think. Yeah. He just didn't like the worship of the devas, I think. I think Prabhupada somehow or other did not like it. It can be some, but everyone else in India think, Torah, कोई मुश्किल है, कोई बात नहीं, तो चलेगा. A little bit is okay. So like this, it slips in. And then we also, in the West, we also think, well, Ganesh is so cute, it's so nice. A little Ganesh, and it says he takes away the obstacles on the spiritual path, so why not, nice. No, not needed. Not needed, our Acharyas say, our authorities say. Why? Say, no, but I know it's not required. Prabhupada sometimes used to say, no, it's not required. So then, the devotee asked the question, okay, it's not required, but are we allowed? And then Prabhupada again said, no, it's not required. So, he says, yeah, but what is wrong if we worship the demigods? I know they're not supreme. I'm just worshipping them with respect and so on. Because, they're also superior persons. Yes, they are. They are to be respected. We offer them our respects. Pranam. Yes, that we will do. But we will not do puja and we will not take prasad. Why not? Because once we start doing that, then we think, then it becomes like mom and dad, And the kids, some things you ask mom and some things you ask dad, Like that, you know what I'm saying? So then, for some things you go to Durga, and for some things you go to Krishna, and no, I don't want to bother Krishna with these things. Yeah. I think I'll get more returns. Lord Shiva, it says he's very easily pleased. Asutosh. He is Asutosh, easily pleased, easily angered. Okay, you have to be a little careful. But you do a nice puja to Lord Shiva and you get very quick results. Ding, 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 let's see. So, for quick results you worship Shiva, and for long-term results you worship Krishna. No? What happens is that then we divide our faith. Little by little you divide your faith. And after some time it becomes quite a great divide. That's why I say no. Because if we divide our faith, if we give some faith to the devas, it also means a little less to Krishna. Whereas we believe, no, Krishna is our soul protector at all times. No, all our faith goes in Krishna. That's it. So, only Krishna. It is simple. And it makes sense. We can understand like this. I was... so as you see, I'm sort of going through the roots of our movement in Vedic culture, and how we see that it is not new. There is Narada Muni wrote the Narada Pancharatra, a very famous scripture. So what is this Narada Pancharatra? What is it anyway? What is that? Yeah. Yes, not only, actually, it goes a little further, but it deals with, It deals with rules of behavior. Rules of behavior. And behavior, obviously, is very strict in relation to the deities. Because in front of the deities, you cannot do anything casual. You have to do it right, proper, prescribed. So it gives many rules and many regulations of behavior in the Pancharatra. And what did Narada do? Because Narada, it is said in Bhagavatam, it is said that Narada is a Shakti Avesh avatar. He is a Jiva, a living being, who is empowered with divine energy. And as he is empowered with divine energy, it is said each avatar is empowered in a different way. Krishna, he is Sadaisvarya Purna. He has all opulences. And other incarnations of the Lord, they are manifesting some of the opulences of the Lord. Like it is said that Balaram and Vamana and Mohini Murti, they are manifesting the beauty of the Lord. Then it's said that Prithu Maharaj, he was invested with Bhupalana Shakti. I don't have a flip chart because they're using it for a meeting, so I'm not on the board. It's too messy. Yeah. I'm not good in writing on boards. Smudgy. Bhupalana Shakti. So, Prithu Maharaj, the power to protect the earth. That's him. So, different incarnations of the Lord, they are empowered with different Shakti. So if Narada is a Shakti Avesh avatar, what is the Shakti that Narada is empowered with? Bhakti Shakti. Yeah. It can also be a name for someone, Bhakti Shakti. Here comes Bhakti Shakti. Or maybe, That's nice, Bhakti Shakti. So Narada has Bhakti Shakti. So Narada is giving Bhakti. So when the Narada Pancharatra is about Bhakti. That's the first. If someone asks you what is the Narada Pancharatra about, the first answer you have to say, it's about Bhakti, and it gives principles of behavior for the devotee, including deity worship and general principles of sada achar or behavior of a saintly person, which are favorable for developing bhakti. That's the Narada Pancharatra. So that's important. So this Narada Pancharatra, it comes back to us. It comes back to us in what form? And what did you say? Yeah. So both answers are good. Sanatana Goswami wrote Hari Bhakti Vilas, and Rupa Goswami wrote Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, translated as Nectar of Devotion. So those are books that are not originally written by Sanatana and Rupa Goswami. It's not they wrote their own books. They wrote books filled with quotes. They took quotes from Vedic scripture. They selected verses from the Pancharatra that were pertinent to bhakti. So in this way, they gave verses of how a Vaishnava should behave. That's what they actually wrote. Of course, it says Hari Bhakti Vilas has some verses in it which were in there to pacify brahmanas from that time. So you will find some karma kanda. For example, if you read, it says if on Ekadasi you do this and this fast, then you will get a long life. What do we care about a long life? Are you sure you want a long life? Not too long. Little long, all right, but not too long. What do you mean with long life? Right? And then you find in Hari Bhakti Vilas things, if you cut your hair on the wrong day, right, then your life, duration of life decreases. Yeah. Saturday, it's a bad day. Oof. Saturday, a bad day for cutting hair. Like that. Oof, 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 oof. So things like that, You sleep with your head to the east. That's good for spiritual development. You sleep with your head to the south. What do you get? Long life. You sleep with your head to the north. What happens? North is the direction you face for when you're dying. So what happens? But maybe here in the southern hemisphere you have to face south. I don't know. No, it's all upside down. But anyway, in India you have to face the north at the time of death. So sleeping to the north will decrease the duration of life. And sleeping to the south extends the duration of life. So you sleep and you live longer. You sleep to the south. Head to the east, good for spiritual life. Head to the west, good for materialism. So, some of these things, Prabhupada said, yes, he introduced actually. He said, yes, if it's best to sleep with the head to the east, if possible. So, devotees are conscious of that. I will, if possible, but sometimes, I'm in a room and I'm just arriving and the bed is headed to the north and, I go, okay, anyway. Haribo! Doesn't mean, it means he is not so strict, maybe. Is that it? He's a little slack. His slackness, Kadamba Kanana Swami. Not really. It's not that, Swami Slackananda, Swami slack a lot. Not really. No, it just means that such things are secondary. The Vastu, I mentioned this morning, you have the tree, and the tree is right in front of the entrance. Tree in front of the entrance. What to do, nothing good can come from this in this house. Bring the chainsaw. Cut that tree. Right? No, but that's very, very demoniac. How can Vaishnava cut the tree? Prabhupada was in Mombasa on the morning walk, and then they came to a house, and there was a tree, and the boundary wall of the house, they built it against the tree on both sides. The tree was right in the middle of the wall. Prabhupada stopped and said, "Here lives a Vaishnava. Here lives a devotee." He said, because he did not kill the tree. So that's an important instruction. So one has to understand. So yes, sometimes we have to understand what is more important. The bhakti, the devotional service, or the ritualistic part. But we say, but what about if you can have both? Yes, that's good. That's good. If it's possible, why not? But we see that Prabhupada was not super fanatic about it, but practical about it. Imagine that the northeastern corner, I'm not sure what corner that is. What corner is that? South. Okay. Anyway, that's good. If that's south. Yeah, it must be south. The sea is there. South. That's good. But if that would be northeast, then say like that's not good because there is these corners are not complete, right? There's some sort of, you can see some half round part there. So that would cut off the corner. So cutting corners in Vastu is not so recommended, especially if northeastern corner is the site for the divine. If you cut that one, quite bad. But even if that corner is cut, if we chant Hare Krishna in that house, most auspicious place, everything counteracted, no problem. So that's all kind of our movement has deep reasons for why things are being done. And sometimes it is thought that they are not able, they don't know all the mantra and all the tantra, and therefore they just chant Hare Krishna. Right? No, but actually the chanting of Hare Krishna is of a higher nature, because it is direct devotional service to Krishna. It's not some mantra for obtaining auspiciousness. Right? Yeah. So in this way, we are looking at how this movement is authorized. Then, I wanted to go to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is said that because we are after all the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that's our movement. We are more that than anything else. We are following Bhagavad Gita, we're following Srimad Bhagavatam, but we are not like those personalities in Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhima had the strength of 10,000 elephants. You know, that's stronger than Spider-Man. I mean, you know, that's very strong. 10,000 elephants, serious. He can knock a train off the rail. Right? I mean, if he really has the strength of 10,000 elephants, put him, and he will just, boom, stop the train. I mean, you know, how... better put it on silent, because I am in a dangerous mood. All noisy phones will be donated to the Swami's African preaching. Make sure. Then mine starts ringing. And then I'll donate it to the African. No problem. So anyway, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the Chaitanya Charita Mahakavya, that is the first of the biographies about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, written by Murari Gupta. Murari Gupta was an elder to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, about 15 years older, and Murari Gupta was very learned and a resident of Navadvip. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in 1486, and in 1510 he left Navadvip, because then he was 24 years old, and at age 24 he took sannyas. So it was a disaster for Navadvip, a total disaster. Everything stopped. You know what I'm saying? It's like Navadvip was completely centering around the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In 1510, it all stopped. Murari Gupta immediately started writing his biography. And part of his biography was completed then, and another part was completed later, after the departure of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from this world. Anyway, in that biography, Murari Gupta is describing that before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the elders appeared. His mother, his father, and various disciples of Madhavendra Puri. And it said Madhavendra Puri was a very unusual person. He appeared in the line of Madhvacharya. And we know that Madhvacharya was worshipping Lord Krishna. We may know the history of Udupi Krishna. The headquarters of Madhva, of course, is in Udupi. And we may know that Madhvacharya, first of all, had mystic power. Even as a child, he displayed some of that. When his mother would call, he would just appear like that. He was extremely powerful. Later on, he was very strong, very strong. Once he was challenged by a very powerful wrestler, and Madhvacharya said, we will completely surrender to you if you can lift my toe. So this man with both hands, first he pulled the toe, in the end with both hands pulling the toe. Are you finished yet? Or are you going to even start? There was no hope. Right? So he was very, very powerful, Madhvacharya. Anyway, so once there was a ship on the shore, which, in a storm, and many of you may not be sailors, but I'm from the Netherlands, we are all sailors, so, when you're coming from sea, you cannot just take your ship and sail it straight to the shore, because near the shore there are banks, right? Sandbanks or rocks and all these things, right? And therefore you have to know where the openings are. So therefore, they put buoys, beacons, and lighthouses, to guide people so that ships can sail through the deep waters and avoid the banks and so on. So in a storm, when you're out at sea, it's very dangerous to go to the land. But it's also very dangerous to stay out of the sea, because you go to land, you may be smashed on a bank. So this ship was coming closer and closer to the shore, and the wind was blowing it towards the shore, which is actually very dangerous. Better you are blown away to open water, and you fight it out there. But when you come to the shore, it's most dangerous. Because there is the undeep water, then you're going to smash. So anyway, Madhvacharya, with directions, he directed the ship through the right area, and the ship was saved. So the owner of the ship was very, very pleased with Madhvacharya, wanted to do some service or anything you want. No, please, anything you take. He said, no, I don't really need anything, no, please, you must take something, no. And so finally he said, okay, give me some tilak. So then the ship had been in Dwarka, and they gave him tilak, gave him a big block of tilak, huge block of tilak. And then, as they took the block, then at one point it cracked, and inside was the deity of Udupi Krishna. So in that way, Madhvacharya got his deity of Krishna, which he took then to Udupi, installed in Udupi, and Madhvacharya and his line have worshipped Krishna ever since. But no Radharani, only Krishna. Krishna by himself. And then we see that Madhavendra Puri, who comes in the line of Madhava, who is the Param Guru, or the grand spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he introduces Radha and Krishna worship. And he just has completely all the symptoms of this Krishna prem, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had it. He had it. Where did he get it? Because we thought that you couldn't get that unless you had that connection with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that was a mystery for a long time until Murari Gupta wrote his diary. And in his diary, Murari Gupta wrote that Madhavendra Puri was a Shakti Avesh avatar, an empowered incarnation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And therefore he displayed these symptoms of love of God. So that was an interesting point. Explained something. Anyway, so then we see that gradually this Radha and Krishna worship is coming into the Madhava Sampradaya. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is beginning to teach this in its full-fledged form. Of course, it exists before, but only known to a few. Found in Srimad Bhagavatam, not in the Vishnu Purana. No. Vishnu Purana mein to nahi aata. Tell what to do. There we find everything about Vaikuntha, about the worship of Vishnu, but not that intimate worship of Vrindavan. Okay, so that is then the special essence of the Vedas which is given. Because that is most intimate and most close to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For example, 20 minutes. For example, it is said that in Vaikuntha, there are the 5 rasas are not manifested. In Vaikuntha there is Santaras, Dasyaras, and Gauravasaka. Or there is Santaras, awe and reverence, Dasyaras, servitorship, and Gauravasakya means friendship mixed with awe and reverence. That's all there is. So in Vaikuntha. The other rasas, parental ras are not there, or real or full friendship on equal basis, not there, and Madhurya ras also not there between Krishna and his devotees. So it said that in then higher than Vaikuntha is Ayodhyadam. So in Ayodhyadam we see that still there is a lot of this awe and reverence to it. Everyone is worshipping Lord Ramachandra, who is his friend. Even Lakshman is always respectful, always, and he's his brother. When Hanuman first comes and during the first meeting, Hanuman introduces himself very nicely and speaks very culturedly, and Vedic words, and even on the right note, so they can see he's very cultured. And then speaks Lakshman, and Lakshman introduces Lord Ramachandra and says, "This is the Yuvaraj of the Raghu dynasty," like Ramachandra, son of Dasarat, and so on and so on. And then he introduces himself. And he could have said, "And I'm his younger brother." Then he shares in the glory, And he said, "No, and I am his servant." So in this way, Lakshman always takes that role of humility. So we see that Hanuman is in Dasya, always in Dasya. He is like. So we see that there also the full 5 rasas are not manifest. It is also said that Lord Ramachandra had taken Ekapatni Vrata. So Madhurya Ras is also not there, because after all, it's not possible, right, for for Lord Ramachandra to accept any other wife. He will not do so. So therefore, even with Lord Ramachandra, all the 5 rasas are not fully available. We know that the sages of Dandakaranya performed austerities to come in the Krishna Lila, where they could have a Madhurya Ras relationship with the Supreme Lord. So it is said that then in Mathura and in Dwarka, these 5 rasas are manifest. They're manifest. But they're still inhibited. They're still because of all the external awe and reverence in the environment. Like when Gopakumar is in Dwarka, he's a coward boy and he's not happy because Krishna is always surrounded by ministers and he's always in the office. He's a prince, he's in royalty. And a king is always having servants and always having this official pomp. Your Majesty, it's like constantly, yes. The king is entering. For example, it's described how Dasarat, there's a description in the Ramayana how Dasarat is entering the assembly hall. And it is said that at the entrance there is a man with a drum, with big sticks, and he beats that drum, these long sticks with cotton balls on the edge. Boom, boom. And exactly on the rhythm of that beating, the king walks. Boom, boom. And enters the hall. Everyone stands up, the king has entered, It is like that. So therefore, the intimacy is also missing. Even in Mathura, in Dwarka, it's not fully there. And only in Vrindavan are these 5 rasas fully manifest. We understand this. This we understand especially from the writings of Rupa Goswami, who has really made that point very clear. He is the Rasa Acharya. He has established that for us. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course, gives that. So, we are looking at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is not inventing something new, right? But who is giving us something that went into the background. Yeah? It's been there all along, but it went into the background with all the other aspects of Vedic culture. Yeah? And then he brings it back to the foreground. Back to the foreground. And then we see that Srivas Thakur, so I said Madhav Puri was worshipping for the first time Radha in Krishna. Madhavacharya was worshipping Krishna, Madhav Puri started Radha Krishna worship. Then Srivas Pandit, Srivas Thakur, it is said that Srivas Thakur, in a previous life, he was Narada. And it says that, where? In the Chaitanya Charita Mahakavya. And it is explained that Narada went to the Supreme Lord, Narayan. And he was feeling great sadness. Narada said that in this age of Kali, things are getting totally out of hand. It is terrible to see how degraded people become. He said, I cannot tolerate. Then the Lord said, then, what do you desire? Then Narada said, I want to ask for one benediction. And then the Lord said, what is that? He said, please grant me the boon that you will appear in this world. And the Lord said, Tatastu, so be it. And then Narada began to speak because he knows past, present and future. And he said, yes, and you will appear as the son of Jagannath Misra and Sachi Mata, and you will in a Brahmin family. And he started to tell the whole thing about the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then Narayan smiled, and then he said, yes, and you will also appear. And the demigods also. And then Narada appeared in this world. Then we go to the Chaitanya Chandradoy Natak from Kavi Karnapur, which is an autobiography on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And there it's mentioned that in the first part of his life, Srivas Thakur was not exactly behaving like a devotee. He was more the party type, if you know what I mean. I think you know what I mean, isn't it? Anyway, that kind of person he was. So he lived that life for a while, and it's said that one day he was informed, and I'm trying to remember if it was in a dream or by some famous astrologer, I can't remember actually, I have to look that up. But anyway, he was informed that he had only one more year to live, and he believed it. So he became very serious. He became a devotee at that time, and he began to act like a devotee. But then the day that he was supposed to die came, and on that day he was listening to a Bhagavatam lecture in the house of Devananda Pandit, and he couldn't breathe, and he needed fresh air, and he went on the balcony, and when he was on the balcony he got dizzy, and then he fell over the edge, and then an unknown person came and caught him mid-air. So it is said that he was saved, and he was brought to his house, and he was still not well, and the next day he woke up, and then he decided to get very serious and read scripture. And the first manuscript that somehow or other he took in his hand was the Naradiya Purana, naturally. Then he started reading that, and there he read that verse, Harinama, 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 Harinama eva kevalam kalo nasteva 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 gatiranyata, which was the verse about that in this age of Kali, the means for delivery is chanting of the holy name. And then from that day on, there was kirtan every night in the house of Srivas. And all the neighbors were complaining, what is all this howling, you know? Every night they're howling, they're making so much noise, what is this? And who says that this is religious principles? Where did they get this from? And what is this? And the Muslims will come and our whole village will be in trouble, and we shouldn't tolerate this. We should get rid of the Srivas before the Muslims come, and then like this. Yeah. So it's interesting because it was then Srivas Thakur who really introduced Harinam. And the roots of Harinam. Yeah. So in this way, in this seminar, we're kind of exploring a little bit where the roots are of what we do, what we believe, and that we can see that indeed we have roots in the Vedic culture, and that we're taking the essence of the Vedic culture. Not every aspect of Vedic culture is acceptable to the Vaishnavas, but that it is not that some recent Acharyas decided that. No, that is going right back, even to Brahma. It begins all there. He was the first one in the whole universe. And then to Narada, and then to Vyas, right? And then to Madhava. Because that is our sampradaya. Brahma, Narada, Vyas, and then there's thousands of years between Vyas and Narada. But they meet in the Himalayas, Vyas and Madhava. In this way that connection is there. And then to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then to Prabhupada, and here we are today. So, okay, I wanted to begin with showing us a little bit more about our roots so that we can see that everything is actually, nothing is happening by chance. It's all based on scripture and on acharyas, and nothing is just the idea of some Swamiji, or some Acharya-ji, or something ji. No. Everything is actually very authorized. So tomorrow I want to continue with our direct acharyas, in particularly our principal acharya, which is Rupa Goswami, because we are Rupanugas, it is said. Of the 6 Goswamis, Rupa Goswami is the leader, because he was the one who most clearly revealed the entire process of devotional service. So therefore, we are followers of Rupa. It said, if we are not Rupanugas, Rupa Anugas, then we are not actually bona fide Vaishnavas. So in this way, I wanted to explore that tomorrow, and for that I have some slides and this and that for today. This was my introduction. I hope it was not totally boring, and that you found some value in it all. If you have a question or two, I will try to answer. Sorry I was nasty about the babies, but I love babies, but not in the lecture. I just cannot remember what I'm saying as soon as the little darlings make noise with their sweet little voices. Yeah.
Guru Maharaj, you introduced, like you said, how were the Puranas kind of established. You give the background of that, and then like why and how is Bhagavad Gita kind of accepted. We treat it as an authorized scripture now. Where did and how did Bhagavatam as such, like...
Same. I said Bhagavatam was also mentioned in the same list of Chandogya Upanishad.
No, but basically the question was when you compare, for example, Vishnu Purana,
okay.
That way.
Uh-huh. So the Bhagavatam itself establishes itself. The Bhagavatam says, Nigama kalpataro galitam phalam sukumagat amritadrava samyutam. It says it is the essence of all Vedic literature. In the first opening verses, in the 3rd verse, it establishes itself as the essence of all Vedic literature, as the cream. The cream is the essence, the malai. And then it's the malai. Malai to tea. I know. And I know you like malai. One sec, I'm not finished. Then in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which many people never read, but it is there, so they say. And in this 12th canto of Bhagavatam, there is a whole list given of the Puranas and an explanation of the Puranas. And it is explained how 6 Puranas dedicated to Lord Shiva are Puranas for those who are influenced by Tamagun, that 6 Puranas dedicated to Lord Brahma are Puranas dedicated to those who are in Rajagun, and then 6 Puranas for those who are in Sattvagun. And out of the 6, there is one which is known as Amala Purana, the spotless Purana, which is the Bhagavatam. So like that, Bhagavatam establishes itself.
Basically, the thing was, sorry if I could ask, was that somebody was asking me that this thing that Bhagavatam is the cream of all Puranas, he says every Purana would say about itself.
No, they don't do that. You think they would, because you haven't read them. So say to your friend. If you read them, they don't do that. They don't. Only the Bhagavatam does that. Yeah. Yeah.
About Haridas Thakur and this movement.
Yeah.
How Brahmaji came to, and then some relation to this.
Yeah, well, Haridas Thakur is, of course, he is kind of an extraordinary Siddha Mahatma. He's just such an incredible personality. Although he came from a Muslim background, right? Haridas had, at early age, clearly Vaishnav association. That is quite clear. And he took up the process of chanting the holy name. Who was actually the Diksha Guru of Haridas is not known. Right? We don't know anything about a Diksha connection or anything like that, so we can't point out who his guru really was. We do know that when Haridas was still young, a young man, he stayed in Benapol. Benapol now is in Bangladesh, but just it is the border post with India, really. So therefore, Haridas was not staying too far from Shantipur, which was the residence of Advaita Acharya, and Haridas had a close connection with Advaita Acharya throughout. They were intimately connected. Haridas, of course, was showing this extraordinary chanting of 300,000 names all the time, and no one could do it. There was a lot of doubt about his qualifications, and he was getting a lot of appreciation from the general public. So some more aristocratic people were getting envious with him, and we see this case of Ramachandra Khan, who sent the prostitute and who tried to make him fall down, but that didn't work. Instead, he transformed the prostitute, and she became also a pure devotee who could chant 300,000 names every day. So that was amazing. So his potency was amazing. Later, in Ambuya Muluka, where the government was seated, he was taken to trial. How could a Muslim give up his own tradition? They wanted him to be beaten in 22 marketplaces, which means beaten to death, but he didn't die. So the ones who were beating were getting upset, and they said, like, what to do? We're getting in trouble. Haridas said, oh, what do you want? You want me to die? All right. And then he fell on the ground, but went into a deep trance. Then they brought the body before the Qazi. They saw the body there, and they said, like, oh, look at him, He gave up his own face, the rascal, right? His body cannot be buried in the sacred earth. We'll just throw it in the river, which was, of course, the Ganga. And then his body was floating in the Ganga, because he wasn't dead. And then he came back to his senses. Then as soon as he came back out of the river, he was chanting again. So again, he walks back into the village, into the town of Ambuya Muluka, chanting. And all the Muslims could see him, and they could understand, He is not an ordinary man, right? Even they could understand it. So everyone could understand that Haridas was not an ordinary man. And he was just so transcendental, so transcendental. So, of course, in the Gauraganadish Deepika, a book written by Kavi Karnapur, that book is the Who is Who directory of the Chaitanya Lila, and it tells us basically that Haridas is a combination of Lord Brahma and of Prahlad. His extreme, some parallels are made in the character, said he is like Brahma because his focus while chanting was just like the focus of Brahma, who could meditate for 60,000 years. And his tolerance was just like Prahlad when he was beaten in the marketplaces. Nothing could take his mind away from the Lord. So that's all we know about Haridas Thakur. Yeah. More? Not more. Yes.
Maharaj, you were mentioning about our sampradaya, like the Brahma sampradaya, how it started, and there are 4 bona fide Vaishnava sampradayas. So we see in the 3rd canto there is some mention of how the Kumara sampradaya and Brahma sampradaya started, but where is the mention about how the Shri sampradaya and the Rudra sampradaya?
Yeah, not so much in the Bhagavatam. No, I'm not sure exactly where they are mentioned other than it is mentioned in the Padma Purana that there are 4 in Kali Yuga, there are 4 Brahma, 4 bona fide sampradayas, and it mentions that they are these 4, coming from these 4 personalities. That is mentioned. But I don't know more about the history of the Sri Sampradaya, where that is mentioned, that I can't say. But the famous evidence about the 4 sampradayas is there in the Padma Purana. And that is taken as important. That verse is very important. And you find it quoted in various scriptures, and then you find interesting in modern publications, modern from the last few hundred years, that verse is not there. Before that it was found, is quoted, but in the last 150 years, it's not found anymore in the Padma Purana. Somebody took it out. ऐसे भी चलता है कभी-कभी. Sometimes they take one verse out, or sometimes they add a few verses. Also, so this is the problem. Adding verses is called interpolation. So with some things you have to be very careful. Yeah. Anyway, I just know that verse about the four sampradayas, not more than that. So that's all I can tell you about the origin of the Sri Sampradaya. Of course, then we see how it develops, that we can discuss. But what Lakshmi Devi exactly spoke and so on, to whom, I don't know. Go ahead.
And today morning you were mentioning how Vallabhacharya was trying to speak his commentary to all the devotees, and they were not ready to listen because it was not in line with Sridhar Swami's commentary. But we also see that Vallabhacharya is the one who actually started the Vallabh Sampradaya.
Yeah.
And that is a bona fide Vaishnava Sampradaya.
Yeah.
How do we understand?
Well, there is a whole thing about that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's a whole chapter dedicated where he meets Vallabhacharya, and Vallabhacharya is very nicely recognizing him as the Supreme Lord, but he's also not ready to completely surrender. And then, he comes with his commentary, which is not accepted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that hurts him. Then he tries to read it to others instead of learning from that. So for a while he was following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then he started his own movement, the Pusti Marg. So there are elements that are close, to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There are elements that are close, but okay, he started his own, and later he claimed a connection through Nimbarka. Right? So he didn't claim his connection through the Gaudiyas. He claimed a connection through Nimbarka. And so in that way, he's who is of course much earlier back, which then, see, when in the Middle Ages in Vrindavan all these different groups came up, they had to have their connection with some of the older sampradayas in order to be bona fide, with one of the four. So you had to connect with one of the four. So Vallabhacharya connected, otherwise you would be against the Padma Purana. So Vallabhacharya then claimed a connection with the Nimbarka Sampradaya. I have not gone into a specialized study of that, to compare what we have from Nimbarka, what we have from Vallabhacharya, how much it matches, etc. I'm doing that on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that's already so much, I can't do more. But there are scholars who have done that, of course. So we do not accept everything from the Pusti Marg as bona fide. So respects, pranams, but not that everything that comes up in their teaching is accepted by us as bona fide. Teak. It's past 1 o'clock. It's our break. It's a long day, lots of things. So we thank you all for being here and for hearing all these things. I hope that it was interesting and that it sort of connects us a little more with our tradition and seeing how ISKCON is representing that tradition. We have a lot to learn, all of us. As you all have a lot to learn about our tradition, I myself, who sit here as a teacher, also have a lot to learn about our tradition. But But let us together explore that tradition, and because the more we take shelter of the Mahajans or of the great authorities, the more we will be strong in our spiritual understanding and conviction. Thank you very much.
His Holiness Kadamba Swami Maharaj ki